back to our channel, your go-to destination for the hottest and most in-depth updates from Genoa. The tense mother-daughter relationship between Claire and Victoria could become a hot topic for the Y&R storyline, as Claire won't stand idly by while her mother sleeps with her ex-boyfriend. Today is an exciting day to explore the intricate web of forbidden love, cruel betrayal, and dark conspiracies. Sit back, because powerful families are about to clash in ways no one could have predicted. Here are some spoilers for the movie Young and the Restless. The atmosphere in Genoa City has never been more suffocating, acting as a volatile powder keg, just waiting for a single, disastrous spark to ignite a catastrophic explosion. Between the ruthless, scorched earth corporate warfare, threatening to tear Chancellor Industries apart from the inside out, and the deeply agonizing personal tragedies striking at the very heart of the Newman family dynasty, every single resident is currently walking on a razor-thin wire. However, amidst the boardroom brawls and rehabilitation struggles, a highly taboo, deeply dangerous, and entirely unexpected romantic entanglement is rapidly reaching a boiling point, threatening to inflict irreversible psychological trauma on those caught in its destructive crossfire. Will this forbidden connection ultimately serve as the catalyst that burns both the Abbott and Newman families to the ground? In a secluded, dimly lit corner of a local establishment, the air was thick with an undeniable, heavy tension as Kyle Abbott executed a smooth, calculated maneuver, sneaking up behind Victoria Newman. Victoria, currently drowning in the emotional agony of her brother Nick Newman's harrowing and terrifying relapse into severe drug addiction, was caught completely off guard by Kyle's sudden proximity. Kyle, utilizing his signature blend of Abbott charm and ruthless emotional intelligence, leaned in close, his presence startling her, but also offering a bizarre, magnetic comfort in her moment of profound vulnerability. He softly inquired about Nick's grueling battle within the rehabilitation facility, expertly using the Newman family tragedy to bridge the historical chasm between their warring bloodlines. Is Kyle genuinely attempting to comfort a deeply vulnerable woman, or is he ruthlessly exploiting a family's darkest tragedy to pull Victoria deeper into his manipulative web? After expressing his seemingly heartfelt concern for Nick's precarious sobriety, Kyle smoothly transitioned his approach, using his charismatic persistence to convince a hesitant Victoria to share a private table with him. As they sat across from one another, the historical boundaries of age, family loyalty, and corporate rivalry began to blur, replaced by an intoxicating, dangerous chemistry that neither could fully deny nor control. They were in the midst of a delicate, flirtatious dance, quietly repairing their fractured dynamic and leaning into the forbidden thrill of their secret connection. However, just as the emotional walls between them began to crumble into dust, the unthinkable and horrifying reality of their situation manifested right before their eyes. Will this clandestine, intimate moment remain a secret, or is the universe about to deliver a brutal, devastating reality check? The fragile, intimate bubble enveloping Kyle and Victoria was violently and irreparably shattered when Claire Newman and Holden Novak unexpectedly stepped into the establishment, their eyes immediately locking onto the scandalous scene unfolding at the private table. For Claire, the visual impact of seeing her mother intimately engaged and softly flirting with her own former lover was nothing short of a psychological nightmare, a brutal repetition of the profound abandonment and betrayal she had spent her entire life trying to overcome. The micro-expressions of sheer horror, deep confusion, and agonizing heartbreak flashed across Claire's face in a fraction of a second, threatening to send her spiraling back into the dark, traumatic abyss she had fought so hard to escape. How much more psychological torment can Claire's fragile mind endure before her tenuous grip on reality completely and permanently shatters? Despite the suffocating, unbearable awkwardness that instantly paralyzed the room, Claire summoned an astonishing reserve of inner strength, desperately masking her profound devastation behind a fragile facade of polite grace. Refusing to give Kyle the satisfaction of seeing her break, she approached the table with Holden by her side, her voice steady but laced with an icy, unspoken hostility. In a masterclass of emotional compartmentalization, Claire forced herself to look directly at Kyle and sincerely thank him, and by extension Jack Abbott, for their unwavering support of Victoria during the agonizing ordeal of Nick's rehabilitation. The tension in the air was so thick it could be cut with a knife, every word spoken carrying the heavy, unspoken weight of betrayal and shattered trust. Will Claire's polite, dignified facade hold under the immense pressure, or is this merely the eerie, silent calm before a catastrophic emotional hurricane destroys them all? Unable to endure the toxic, claustrophobic atmosphere of the main dining room for a second longer, Claire and Holden swiftly excused themselves, retreating to the outdoor patio in a desperate search for sanctuary and fresh air. However, the crisp evening breeze did absolutely nothing to cool the boiling, chaotic tension that had firmly taken root in Claire's mind. Holden, proving himself to be highly observant and deeply empathetic to Claire's silent suffering, gently broke the silence, openly acknowledging the extreme, undeniable awkwardness of the encounter they had just endured. Probing gently into Claire's emotional state, Holden wondered aloud if Victoria, deep down, harbored a secret, twisted desire to see Claire and Kyle reconcile and reunite. Could Victoria secretly be orchestrating a bizarre reconciliation for her daughter, or is she entirely, selfishly consumed by her own forbidden lust for the young Abbott heir? Claire, her defensive instincts flaring wildly, vehemently, and immediately dismissed Holden's theory with a sharp shake of her head. She fiercely insisted that Victoria respected her autonomy and genuinely wanted Claire to make her own independent decisions regarding her romantic future, free from maternal interference. However, beneath her confident, assertive words lay a deep, terrifying well of insecurity and profound betrayal. She was desperately trying to convince herself of her mother's innocence, just as much as she was trying to convince Holden. The chilling reality that her mother might actually be pursuing Kyle for her own romantic satisfaction was a truth too agonizing, too repulsive for Claire to fully process in that fragile moment. Is Claire truly blind to her mother's dangerous selfish game, or is she simply utilizing willful ignorance as a psychological shield against the devastating reality of Victoria's ultimate betrayal? Sensing that the topic of Victoria and Kyle was pushing Claire dangerously close to an emotional breaking point, Holden tactfully pivoted the conversation, shifting the focus from deeply personal family trauma to the impending, catastrophic professional peril looming over Genoa City. He brought up the terrifying shadow of Billy Abbott, detailing Billy's aggressive, manic, and highly destructive attempts to execute a hostile takeover of Chancellor Industries. Holden expressed a profound, existential anxiety about his own future and career stability within the company, knowing full well that a scorched-earth corporate war, spearheaded by a volatile Abbott, could leave countless innocent employees as collateral damage. Will Holden become an unfortunate, forgotten casualty in the Abbott family's ruthless, bloodthirsty pursuit of absolute corporate power? Or can he successfully navigate this treacherous, unpredictable minefield? Back inside the main dining area, the heavy silence left in Claire and Holden's wake provided Kyle and Victoria the opportunity to dissect the incredibly uncomfortable, revealing encounter. Kyle, exuding a chilling, almost sociopathic level of emotional detachment, leaned forward and attempted to smoothly reassure a visibly conflicted Victoria. He confidently declared that time heals all wounds, insisting with a cold certainty that his lingering romantic feelings for Claire were rapidly fading into the ether, leaving nothing but a platonic indifference behind. He wanted Victoria to believe that Claire was entirely in his past, clearing the path for whatever dark, passionate future they were currently building together in the shadows. Is Kyle telling the absolute, unfiltered truth about his fading emotions for Claire, or is this a highly calculated, manipulative lie designed to seduce Victoria into a false, dangerous sense of security? Victoria, currently wrestling with an immense, suffocating wave of maternal guilt that threatened to drown her forbidden desires, pointedly noted how incredibly difficult and painful it must be for Kyle to witness Claire moving on and finding happiness with a new man like Holden. Kyle smoothly and immediately deflected the maternal observation, his voice devoid of any genuine sorrow, stating that he was entirely accustomed to the situation and that it did not bother him in the slightest. Refusing to remain on the defensive, Kyle ruthlessly flipped the script, piercing Victoria with an intense, unwavering gaze and a pointed question about her own true feelings regarding Claire and Holden's blossoming, innocent romance. What dark, unspoken, and deeply conflicted truths are hiding behind Victoria's eyes as she contemplates her daughter's bright future, while simultaneously sitting across from her daughter's discarded past? The fragile, clandestine bubble enveloping Kyle and Victoria was violently and abruptly shattered by the sudden, whirlwind arrival of Billy Abbott. Billy did not merely enter the establishment, he invaded it, his physical presence radiating a toxic, suffocating aura of manic stress, sleep deprivation, and unhinged desperation. His eyes, dark and darting, betrayed the catastrophic psychological toll of his relentless, scorched-earth corporate crusade to conquer Chancellor Industries, a war that had already alienated his family and pushed his rivals to the absolute brink. The weight of his ruthless maneuvers, the secrets he was desperately trying to unearth, and the collateral damage he was actively causing were visibly tearing his psyche apart piece by piece. What fresh, unpredictable hell has Billy Abbott brought with him tonight? And who will be the first unfortunate soul to suffer the full brunt of his uncontrollable, destructive wrath? Victoria, possessing a deep, agonizing, and highly historical understanding of Billy's cyclical patterns of self-destruction and chaotic outbursts, immediately sensed that a massive, uncontrollable explosion was brewing just beneath his surface. She physically tensed, her instincts screaming at her to brace for a catastrophic impact as she watched her volatile ex-husband scan the room with predatory intensity. Kyle, highly perceptive, and recognizing that Billy currently held dangerous knowledge and possessed a wildly unpredictable energy that could ruin his own clandestine plans, decided that immediate self-preservation was the only logical option. He opted to steer completely clear of the impending disaster, refusing to be caught in the blast radius of Billy's inevitable public meltdown. Can Kyle truly escape the far-reaching, devastating consequences of his own actions, or will Billy's chaotic, destructive orbit inevitably pull him into a brutal, unavoidable confrontation? Ignoring the tense atmosphere inside, Billy bypassed the main dining room entirely and marched directly out onto the dimly lit patio, his sights set squarely on cornering Holden Novak. With Claire standing silently in the shadows, watching the interaction with intense, protective scrutiny, Billy dropped a massive, life-altering corporate bombshell directly into Holden's lap. He bluntly admitted that he genuinely wanted Holden to remain at Chancellor Industries, recognizing the young man's potential, but he immediately followed this praise with a ruthless, non-negotiable ultimatum. Holden must definitively and publicly choose a side in this bloody corporate war. Will Holden sell his soul and his morality to the devil he knows, or will he risk his entire professional future to stand bravely against Billy's tyrannical, unhinged regime? Billy, operating with a terrifying blend of charisma and menace, painted a stark, unforgiving picture of the future for a captivated Holden. He issued a dark warning that if Holden chose to align himself with Lily Winters and Kane Ashby, he would be systematically crushed and left with absolutely nothing when the corporate dust finally settled. However, if Holden pledged his unwavering, absolute loyalty to Billy's hostile takeover, Billy promised to personally mentor him, grooming him with the ultimate goal of one day allowing Holden to run his own massive corporate entity. It was a glittering, intoxicating temptation, but one laced with a highly lethal, undeniable venom. Can a promise forged in the fires of betrayal, blackmail, and corporate sabotage ever truly bear fruit, or is Holden being lured into a lethal, inescapable trap designed to destroy him? As Holden stood frozen, silently weighing the monumental, life-altering weight of this Faustian bargain, Claire remained a silent sentinel, her sharp mind analyzing every single manipulative word spilling from Billy's desperate mouth. She knew intimately of Billy's long, documented history of erratic behavior, broken promises, devastating gambling addictions, and chronic self-destruction that had routinely decimated those who dared to trust him. She silently, agonizingly wondered why Holden, or anyone for that matter, should ever place their trust, let alone their entire career and future, in the unstable hands of a man who was currently in the process of tearing his own family and legacy apart. Will Claire bravely intervene to save Holden from Billy's highly toxic, manipulative grasp, or will she be tragically forced to watch yet another man she deeply cares about fall victim to Genoa City's endless, dark conspiracies?